So we'll get to my little title slide here in a minute, but these are my two goals in life, to help other people and to make people laugh. So hopefully I can tick a couple of those boxes today. But what I really want to point out is that today is not about Wilmot. It's not about MaiaGrazing. Having said that, we wouldn't be here if Maia hadn't gone to the expense of putting the day on and helping me organise it and get it happening. But it's absolutely about helping other people. We've been sitting up here on a hill where it rains plenty, watching everyone in drought and having a hell of a time and trying to manage through that. And as I just said, my goal in life is to help people, and this is how we wanted to help, through education. Trying to encourage people to think a little bit differently and think about, I suppose, a different way of thinking of managing through drought as opposed to conventional, traditional thinking. As we know, there's two things in our industry that we can't control, and that's the weather and the market. But what we can control are our grass, our money, and our livestock. So this guy's another one of my mentors. He's also had a profound influence on who we are and what we do now. And Terry always says, or has said for a long time, we pretty well always go either going into drought, in drought, or we're coming out of drought. And the key thing is how we manage that. It's how we navigate through those times, through the good times and the not so good times, through the really tough times, like a lot of people are experiencing at the moment. And like I said, we can't. We're sitting on a rolling rainfall of 800 mils up here, which is 70% of our long-term average. But the day's not about Wilmot. It's not about us being in drought, because we can't claim to be when knowing the rolling rainfall you guys have got. But this is certainly our contribution. There's another guy here that a few of you might have heard of, a guy called Bud Williams from the States, who sadly has passed away, and I never did have the fortune of meeting him. But Bud, he was the founder of low-stress stock handling and that way of handling livestock. And he also was the founder of the KLR livestock marketing school and system of marketing cattle. And he has a really good quote that I think is very applicable today to today's program. Bud says, nobody ever went broke from having too much grass or too much money. But a lot of people have gone out of business and will go out of business through this time from having too many cattle at the wrong time. And it's absolutely true. It rings true in so many ways. And another thing that Bud said, right at the bottom there, might be a bit hard to see, but he said, folks should love their grass and hate their cows. Because if you hate something, it's really easy to get rid of it. Now, we of course love all our cattle here. Everything we do is geared around making sure that they have a wonderful life. But I don't particularly have any emotional attachment to any of our animals, other than my 3 pet longhorns out here. Everything else, they're coming and going all the time. We're equally as much or more focused on our ecology and maintaining that and making sure that we're profitable. And I'll sell cattle today to make sure I put money in the bank rather than hold them, because I think I could put some more weight on them, or I think the market might go up, or I think it might rain, or whatever else. If I can see that my grass inventory is running down, I have no worries selling cattle, no matter how good they are. So we're a little bit different in the district here. What we do, we have had some interesting things, comments made about us over the time that I've been here, which we certainly don't get offended by, but it's quite entertaining, some of the things we hear. They're just bloody grass growers, that Wilmot mob. That only works over there because the last manager put enough super on the last 10 years. And he left about 10 years ago, so it's probably all about to crash because we're going to run out of super. And the other one that I find intriguing is that we don't have to make money. We're owned by an investor, so you don't have to worry about that so much. Well, one thing I've learned about investors is that they didn't get wealthy and get to the stage of being able to be an investor without making money. So we absolutely have to make money here every day, and that's the number one thing of what we do, is to be profitable. And second to that is improving our ecology every day of the week. And I wouldn't have, if we didn't make money, I wouldn't have a job. It's pretty simple. So I'm probably already over time, but I'm just going to very quickly tell the story of Wilmot for the last couple of years. And like I said earlier, we don't proclaim to be in drought and struggling and as dry as anywhere by any stretch of the imagination. But one thing we absolutely have had to do is make some very big decisions in the last 2 years. This is the analytics chart from MaiaGrazing. The black line there is our benchmark carrying capacity. So this is basically telling me any day of the week whether we have our stocking rate matched to carrying capacity or not. The blue line is our rolling rainfall. The blue bars are rainfall each month, and the green line is our stocking rate. So you're supposed to keep the green line under the black line. So I'll just get to that. So across the bottom here, I'm just going to our actual number of head at closing at the end of the year and at the end of the financial year is going to appear across the bottom there as I go. That was back in 2016 when not long after we got here, and we actually were making some reasonable stocking rate decisions back then, including using a lot of adjustment country when we had quite a dry spring, and we did probably loaded up too many cattle on Wilmot and had to unload some before we got overstocked. Then we had this massive rain event in March. Over 2 days, we had about 300 mils of rain. It was an East Coast low that came in. It was fantastic. We went from about 900 mils to average rainfall, just like that, overnight. And here we are at rolling average rainfall. Happy days. So that was enjoyable for a few months. We closed that year with about 850 head on hand. Had a very dry winter, but had a great spring. Good rainfall months, October, November, December. It was about end of November where I went to hospital, and I didn't come home for 2 months. So that threw a bit of a spanner in the works. We all got pretty excited because we had so much grass, and we ended up about here. We got to the end of January, and it was I'd just got home from hospital, and all of a sudden it was a real holy shit moment. We had 4,500 head of cattle on the farm. We had 3 mobs of 1,000 head plus going around on their own rotation on about a 30-day rest, which was counting on e-ball rainfall happening. And it declined, as you can see. January and February were drier months. And then March, the big reason that kicks up is because the rolling that March rainfall from the year before fell off, our rolling rainfall. So that's a total of how much rainfall we've had over the preceding 12 months. And all of a sudden we're through the roof with our stocking rate. And it felt like that on the farm. We weren't just going off this going, geez, we've got to sell some cattle. It was starting to feel like that. We were getting quicker and quicker, and the old plug hole effect was starting to happen. So we had to make some pretty big decisions. About February, I signed a $2 million contract with a feedlot to start selling cattle. This was about what unfolded over the next 3 months. We sold 800 head in March, averaged about 440 kilos, so that was good. They were at a feeder weight. That's about where we wanted to be. That was a $660,000 decision. In April we sold 1,300. In May we sold nearly 1,500 head. And if you look at those sale weights there, they're back to 400. They were like 40 or 50 kilos too light. And they were $1 million months. Like that was some serious decisions. And I don't think we value that enough. I was lying in bed the other night thinking about this, and I don't know what other employees or industries make $1 million decisions monthly without an education. To me, it's people with MBAs make those sort of decisions. It's CEOs that sit in investment offices in Sydney. It's like, I think we undervalue that as farmers, the value of some of those decisions that we are making. The real message here is, what if I didn't make those decisions? And what if I persevered and said they've got to all be 450 kilos before we sell them? We can't sell them. They're too light. They're not heavy enough. We got to hold them. Imagine the pain we'd still be in. We're blessed to have that many cattle on the farm. But if I didn't make those decisions to start selling cattle, we'd still be trying to sell some of them. So that was pretty drastic. We had no rain in May, bugger all in April, kept selling cattle. By the end of June, we had 200 head left on the farm. everything was telling us, the farm was telling us it needed a break. The landscape, it needed a bit of recovery time. We sold pretty well everything, and those last 200 head went in August, and we replaced them. But it meant that the whole farm got a rest. There was a lot of paddocks here had 100 to 120 days rest, and they were able to get their feet back under them. About then, we're signing off on the budget, and I'm saying, because of the pain we've just been through, we got to give the farm a rest. We can't trade too many cattle this year. It's not going to be that good a year. We just got to trade enough cattle to pay the bills, but we're going to be riding the lightning most of the year. So that's all this season. But with this, with the tool and our analysis in the paddock and what we were seeing, it gave me the confidence to start to make the decisions, and it gave me the confidence that we could trade some cattle through this season. It'd be bloody tight and challenging, and we'd have to be pretty careful, but we could probably get away with it. And we had a couple of good rainfall months, October and December. So we got back up to about 3,000 head on the farm, which is about where we're at now. We just started to sell a few. And in the next month, we'll sell a third of our inventory. Because that's how it's feeling on the farm. Where we've been up there well over our stocking rate for our carrying capacity for a good while there, and we're starting to get back to the point where we've got to get back under a benchmark and give the place a rest. And by the end of June, we should be back to about 760 head. We will replace some of those cattle in the next couple of months. That's about where we're at. I think that the real key message is, what if I didn't make those decisions? What if I didn't, if I didn't start selling cattle back then in February, we'd still be up there without 3,000 head of cattle on the farm. So this place is like flying a helicopter. I mean, most places are pretty challenging, and this place, you can look at the variability in rainfall from month to month there, and you'll get 200 mils in a month, and away it goes like gangbusters, and you can't buy enough cattle. And then it cuts out for 2 months, and you think, holy shit, we're just, hang on a minute, we better just reevaluate things. So the key message is the decisions that we have to make, we're able to make them in advance with the tools available without any emotion to preserve profit, and because I can't afford not to be proactive. If I don't make those decisions, we're not going to be profitable. So it's really absolutely about the decisions that I can't afford not to make. If I didn't make those decisions back then in February, we'd be in a hell of a lot more pain than we are now. And just to be very open, we broke even last year, just better than broke even. We got out of it by the skin of our teeth. And this year I've just done our reforecast, and it's looking to be our most profitable year in the last 4. So for whatever reason, the market, the rainfall, whatever, it'll be our best year. And the other thing that's enabled me to make all these decisions is the education that I've had. Because without that education, I wouldn't have been able to foresee that those decisions would be profitable in a falling market, that we'd be able to replace a lot of those cattle and set ourselves up for a really good year this year. So Maia, to give them a plug, has absolutely given me the confidence to make those educated decisions.